Ladies and gentlemen, Madam Chair, we believe that it is not necessary to implement superstate in order to achieve the fundamental goal of EU, which is peace and prosperity through political and economic integration. We can attain the sole purpose through other alternative means. I will provide our counter model, right? So our counter model is that our policy is to extend the mechanism that is already implemented in current European Union, which will provide more beneficial without compromising rights of individual states. By two main points, right? The first main point is that it provides direct referendum. It is the true democracy, right? And the second point is that it strengthens monetary system to solve this crisis. Before I move on to my speech and argument, I would like to have some rebuttal, right? From the government state, right? They didn't actually analyze or purely define the difference between superstate and the status quo, which is European Union, right? They are just saying that status or superstate mean they are combining together of that, and they didn't define the economically and politically integration differences between European Union and superstate clearly, right? So that is the burden of the government side in my first rebuttal. My second rebuttal is about the current financial crisis couldn't be solved by this current situation, right? There are solutions which I would extend more in my argument. Okay. And my third rebuttal is about the need of EU to guide countries to be a democracy countries. But don't you think that most of the European Union countries are already democracy, a political democracy already, right? And my fourth rebuttal is about big countries influencing those countries among EU in the status quo, which are the big countries, right? Germany, France, right? But don't you think in superstate they will still continue influencing the other country, right? There is no difference at all. And my fifth rebuttal, I will let you rebut. Right? And my fifth rebuttal is about lower interest rate, right? We still think that Germany, France, Italy, and all those big countries will still continue to have the big influence in political and economic agreement, right? They will have a big influence on that. Okay, before I move on to my split and argument, yes, please.
So you told us about the current financial crisis, right? How is your extension of the current model going to solve this crisis? Tell us.
I will talk more on that in my agreement, right? Okay, so I move on to my speech, right? My second speaker will talk about are the members of EU will be willing to become superstate, right? And the answer to that question is no. And my second speaker will talk more on that. The second, what my second speaker would talk more about is about European superstate is against the original purpose of the European Union. And moving on to my argument, right? I have the one argument. One is how our models create a more democratic and economically prosperous in Europe, right? On my first level is that this model is going to make countries more democratic. Why is that? On the first level, there are the treaty called Amsterdam Treaty allow EU Parliament to question EU Commission, which provides check and balance in the system already. Euro Parliament is elected by citizens in EU. We believe that direct referendum from the people to EU Council, Commission, Parliament is more democratic than that issue constitution. On the second level, policies and regulations of EU move through consent and bargain. This will better suit all the needs of member states. And on my third level, France and Italy are already rejected the idea of European superstate. So it means that principally and practically superstate is invalid.
Here, here.
And in the fourth level, European Parliament is an additional instrument of democratic control. In year 1999, there is some regulation that Parliament made to the Commission, and the issue is already solved. So while we are saying that democracy is already rooted in the European Union without the need of super state. So that's why we don't need super state. Yes, please.
Won't you agree with us to say that the US model has worked when they integrated all their states and have a unified government and central bank?
That is the question. Sorry, I don't get it. Can you come again?
Okay. Won't you agree with us when we tell you that the US federal government has worked because they have a unified central government and a unified central bank?
Yeah, we do. We agree that US is functioning well, right? But still, European and US is the totally different geographically, politically, and economy way, right? So, moving on to my second sub-point, right? We are saying that this model will solve economic crisis, right? That will be implemented of European central bank, right? That will not need to be supported by European superstate to be more credible, because European central bank role is to lend money. The problem of this crisis, your financial crisis, is the regulatory system, which is not implemented well in this status quo. What we need to solve financial crisis is the implement of regulatory of the banks, and it will be issued in January 2013, right? Yeah, and that would create more transparency to the member states, right? There are also alternatives for funding fight against Greek crisis, which is IMF, yeah, which will extend the funding for Greece to help the structural weaknesses. And also the last point, that we don't think Euro superstate will achieve a goal of uniting them together, because there are some certain treaties that is already cooperating to solve crisis and failure of political agenda. With this treaty, the problem is already being solved. Thank you.